Tapper always gets, that was Jake Tapper was interviewing him. Tapper always seems to get in these conundrums. So then he goes to like two other guests, and then at the end, somebody must have been whispering in Tapper's ear, in the little microphone in his ear that we TV people wear sometimes, because he goes back to that end and goes, now before we leave, you really didn't mean literally kill Trump, right? You meant that. He actually said that at the end of the clip.
You can almost see that they're in his ear doing that.
And you should have seen Tapper, because he was distracted. He was kind of like looking and he wasn't paying attention. And he and that guy goes, the mud guy goes, oh yeah. Yeah. Can you imagine? I mean, it's insanity what's going on. But someone who's not insane, well, maybe she is because she decided to become a state representative, is Missouri Representative Gene Evans joins me now. And you must wonder some days if you're insane for being in the Missouri House, right?
I have wondered that many times.
And your daughter probably asks you, what, Mom, really? Do you have to keep doing this? Yeah.
She
what does she think about all this?
Well, she lives in Tulsa.
Oh, okay.
So she graduated college, got married, and they live in Tulsa. That's one of my motivations for running, was seeing her and people her age moving out of our state because the jobs weren't here.
Correct.
So that was a big motivator for me. And also, if she weren't out on her own and off the payroll, there's no way I could be a state rep. Let's be honest. Like, I just couldn't do it. So, yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I don't know that I ever asked you that, what your motivation was. It was because you kept seeing young people, literally, your daughter,
right,
and others pursuing their dreams elsewhere because there wasn't enough for them to do here.
That was a big motivator. I kind of got talked into this by Eric Schmidt, so I got to throw some blame there. But one of the big things that got me interested.
And our friend Sue Allen.
Sue Allen,
and
right?
A lot of our other, a lot of your predecessors.
I thought they were friends. So
they meant well.
Yeah,
they meant well.
But the whole Obamacare thing when Obama came into office, me, like a lot of sort of closet conservatives who weren't that politically active, jumped up and said, "Okay, we can't do this. This is crazy."
I bet Obamacare affected you, right? Because you're a businesswoman. You're
self-employed.
You're your own employer.
Right.
You're one of those wealthy elitist corporatists that the left hates so much because you're wealthy.
Yeah, it was.
You wish. Where's all this wealth, right?
Right. Well, and my district is pretty, working to middle class.
Yeah, it definitely is. So, where is your district generally?
So, Valley Park in Manchester. So, if you look at 141 between Manchester and 44. Kind of both sides of that. It's just a lump right there, and it's very residential, lots of schools, not a lot of businesses.
Right. A lot of bedroom community there.
Absolutely. Easy to walk. Thank you.
Yeah.
So did that last summer.
So that's the district, and you're in the middle of your first term, right?
That's right.
Seems longer, doesn't it?
I can't imagine if I was having a campaign this year in addition to all this other stuff going on. But I enjoy it. When the governor calls us back, we go back. People in the media complain about it, but we're like, this is what I signed up for. This is my job. Go down there and get it done.
You've always had a great attitude about it. We're speaking with Missouri State Representative Gene Evans from St. Louis County. Gene, I've talked to all our guests about this, and I'm sure you join with me in condemning the horrible, horrific acts in Charlottesville over the weekend, and but you probably also join with me in saying that doesn't represent our party at all.
No, and I really like what you said about we're independent, we're not authoritarian. And there was somebody put on Twitter today that this white supremacy helps white people, and we need to acknowledge that. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. It's bad for everybody.
It's crazy. Yeah.
We know that a diverse economy where people have opportunity is good for all. We don't want to artificially make opportunities or advantages for people, but we certainly don't endorse or subscribe to that. It's scary for me. I mean, I guess it's because I'm sheltered because I don't know people who are racist.
I don't know people like that either. I think David Duke is a clown. I always thought he was a clown. I mean, like we talked earlier, it's like there's always this, no pun intended, there's always this whitewashing of history, right? It's like Republicans were the ones that freed the slaves. Republicans were the ones that made sure the Civil Rights Act of the 60s got done. I mean, it was a Republican Congress that dragged LBJ kicking and screaming to put that into law. And now, something you're working hard on is education reform, which you've told me. What's your phrase about education reform? What do you call it?
It's a great equalizer.
Right.
Education.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I'm a first-generation college person. Both of my parents graduated from high school. I went to college, and it gave me more opportunities, a better income. And having the ability to get an education, a good education, just brings more opportunity. That's why we see so many kids from the same school district ending up in prisons in Missouri or ending up poor. Because we have this, as you know, a school-to-prison pipeline for a couple of school districts in Missouri. So if you can change that dynamic of the education, we can't change the home life. We can't change too many other things. But one thing we can change, we spend so much money on education. And if we can open that up so that kids can go to the schools that suit their needs and make it a little more competitive, say between these schools, so they're competing for students like colleges do, so they have to, up the ante and do a better job. I think that just provides more opportunity for everybody at all ends of the income scale throughout the state, and particularly in St. Louis.
Sounds like you want to give people a choice.
A choice. Imagine
the other side feels they own that word, right? Yeah. But we're the ones that they want a choice on one subject, and that's it. We want choice on the things that are really should have a choice, like education. Now, before we leave Charlotte, you had brought something up to me in the break. I completely forget, and we get sidetracked on a much more, this is an important subject because this is talking about education. I believe, like you, will help us conquer a lot of these ills of society.
Absolutely.
But before we leave Charlotte, you were wanting to bring up the point about what about when Congressman Scalise and all the Republicans got shot by the Rachel Maddow fanboy up in D.C.
So this crazy guy from Belleville, leftist loon, on the record for being a complete leftist, hating our president, goes out and starts shooting at congressmen.
Actually shooting them with a weapon.
Not just protesting, he's shooting.
Right.
And, the liberal pundits come out and say, well, we need to condemn both sides here. And I remember thinking, both sides?
There was no other side in that situation.
This is one crazy man. And I understand, we all want to tamp down the rhetoric. And you and I know that when we're in Jeff City or D.C., Republicans and Democrats, for the most part, get along pretty well. Much better than the pundits would want us to believe.
Right. Man, much better than on the Twitter world. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
I have a lot of, like you, probably as well, I have a lot of friends who are on the other side of the aisle or different from me philosophically. And when they meet me or when they see me in person, they're like, you're so much nicer than you are on Twitter. I'm like, because Twitter's a battlefield.
It is.
It's a battlefield of political and philosophical ideas. I'm not going to be a shrinking violet on Twitter because the left is out there proclaiming very loudly from the rooftops that Trump is evil, he's going to be impeached, all these things that you're fine, yeah, we're good, that aren't true, that are not going to happen, but they're out there preaching that, and so I try to push back on that. But your point is very valid. State government, which doesn't get the attention I think it deserves, actually functions well, and there's a lot of bipartisanship in Jefferson City, right?
Absolutely, yes. And we want the same things. We want safe streets. We want good schools. We want opportunity. We just disagree about how to get there. But so, there's not a lot of nasty rhetoric when we're just talking to each other about policy.
And speaking of weird alliances, tell our audience the strange alliance on education reform. It's one of the oddest you could probably come up with.
Well, I don't understand why my Democratic colleagues who represent these failing school districts don't support choice or charter school expansion or any kind of opportunity for students.
Some of them do, right? And that's what I mean by the weird, like Jamila Nasheed.
On the Senate side, Jamila, yeah,
Senator
she's great.
Nasheed, Senator Chappelle Nadal, I think has.
But
you're
in
right.
The House, no.
But isn't it strange that very progressive liberal senators like Nasheed and Nadal are with you on school choice, but then some of the others are not?
Well, I think those two are pretty fearless. So I think they see that this is the right thing, and they're no longer fearful of retribution from some other special interest groups.
Fear governs a lot in Jefferson City, doesn't it?
It does, unfortunately.
Probably in D.C., too.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would agree.
So we're going to go to a break here, but when we come back, I want to ask you about what you think is up on the docket next year. Like what specifically you might work on in education reform, and another one of your favorite subjects, tax cuts.
Yay.
And whether we're going to get to that too or not.
Sounds
because
good.
That's going to be talked about this fall. And then I may ask you a little bit about whether Senator Claire McCaskill can be beaten next year or not.
Absolutely.
Put your
easy one.
Okay, very good. Senator Gene Evans I just promoted you.
Promotion, yeah.
Yeah. Representative Gene Evans in here in studio on the Tim Jones Show here at FM News Talk 971. Happy Sunday.